প্রিয় দর্শক মণ্ডলী, শুভ সন্ধ্যা। Sorry about some technical glitch that we get delayed for a couple of minutes. As you know, this is the first time that we are doing it. Hopefully this is not going to happen going forward. So Bangladeshi Americans for Biden and Harris, Facebook community admin এবং moderatorদের পক্ষ থেকে আমি আরশাদ হোসেন মামুন আমাদের GOTV 2020 সিরিজের প্রথম অনুষ্ঠানে আপনাদের সবাইকে স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি। এই অনুষ্ঠানটি যেহেতু আমরা লাইভ সম্প্রচার করছি, বিভিন্ন ভাষার মানুষের সুবিধার জন্য আমরা অনুষ্ঠানের বাকি অংশটি মূলত ইংরেজি ভাষায় পরিচালনা করব। So dear viewers, good evening and welcome to the first episode of GOTV 2020 series. Thank you for watching live and please stay with us during the next hour. We promise an exciting evening this evening. As you know, America, the country that we all embraced as our chosen home, the land where our children are working hard to define their next step of their lives, going through an existential crisis. It's almost what amounts to a once-in-a-century crisis. But we all know that more than 5 million Americans have been infected by a global pandemic, with 180,000 people and counting are dead. 32 million Americans are living on unemployment benefit. More than 5.5 million people have lost their health care when they lost their jobs. Up to 28 million people are about to face eviction or foreclosure because they cannot afford to pay their rent or their mortgage. The number of hate crimes are at 16-year high. And police brutality against African American people has become too frequent and too disturbing events that finally started causing pain to the collective conscience of our nation. It's obvious that the current president and the current Republican Senate, they are no match to meet the challenges of this moment. In fact, all these issues have been made worsened because of their incompetence, their neglect, failure of leadership, failure of understanding complexity of issues. So never in history of America, we have seen our country, our people, and the long-standing American ideals have been under relentless attack like this time from within, from a sitting American president. So I hope that we all will agree that if we want to keep this country a land of opportunity for everyone, for people of all race, all ethnicity, country of origin, then we cannot accept the current trajectory of this country any longer. So in a couple of months, we'll have a chance to change the course of this country. And I call it a chance because the outcome of this election is not guaranteed unless all of us, each of us, do our part. And that is precisely the reason why we created this Facebook page in the first place, so that we can do our part. And our part is to engage Bangladeshi American community in every corner of this country to this election process to elect progressive Democrats and Biden and Harris across the board. As part of that process, we are going to arrange a series of GOTV events where we'll get insight from mainstream people who are in politics. And along the way, we'll also introduce some of our fellow Bangladeshi Americans who have been successful in mainstream American politics or who are trying to seek public office. With no further delay, let me introduce you to the guest tonight and my fellow admins who will join me with this discussion tonight. We are honored to have a proud Bangladeshi American, a Democrat, and the first immigrant or Muslim ever elected as state senator in the history of the state of Georgia legislature. Senator Sheikh Rahman is our guest tonight. Senator, welcome.
Thank you.
To our panel discussion, and thank you for joining us tonight. As you know, Senator Rahman represents the most diverse people of Georgia 5 Senate seat, and he serves on multiple Senate committees. Senator has a fascinating life story that I'm excited to hear from firsthand from him in a few moments. Let me introduce a couple of our other panel members. Rokon Ahmed, the fellow admin of our group, who lives in New Hampshire and works for a Boston area high-tech company. He holds a PhD in physics from Columbia University in New York. Rokon has been a consistent supporter of Democratic candidates for more than 2 decades. Good evening to you, Rokon. And tonight we also have Tahazida Ghaznavi, another admin of our Facebook group in our tonight's discussion panel. Taj has been a passionate and active volunteer of Democratic Party in Arizona for more than a decade now. She graduated with a business degree from University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, and she worked for United Nations and other multinational companies in the past. Hello, Taj. How are you?
Hello.
And to close this loop of the introduction, I'm Arshad Hussain Mamun. I'm also one of the admin of our group. I'm an ex-Guatian who also hold a master's degree in chemical engineering from NJIT, an MBA from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in New York, and I currently work for a multinational company in Austin, Texas. So now that we know all the people who are here, and most of them are being first time presented in this forum, so we thought maybe it was a needed introduction to have. So now we are going to the main meat side of the meat of the program. We have 3 subsections, and after each section, I'll also ask folks who are watching live, please make your comments, how we can improve going forward. If you have any comments on tonight's proceedings, if you have any question that you would like, Senator, for you to answer, and I know we have admins collecting those comments and questions that they are going to forward to us, and we'll try to accommodate some of those questions at the end of the program. But for now, we are going to the first section, where the goal is to know a little bit more about our senator. We are so proud of him. So let's go to the first section to Rokon and Taj. Take it away.
Thank you, Arshad Bhai. I will start the questioning. Good evening, Senator Rahman. It's good to see you in Zoom. So my first question to you is, would you please briefly share with us your early life education and professional career before entering politics?
Thank you for having me first. I'm really excited and glad to be with you all, because, it's really all this number of years, fighting by myself as a Bangladeshi, in American politics. It's been tough by myself looking at, but now I see everybody coming in fold. That's exciting. But anyway, without further ado, as I said, I'm originally from Bangladesh, born and brought up in Bangladesh. I'm originally from district of Kisharganj, and used to be Mymensingh. I'm still called Mymensingh because when I left Bangladesh, it used to be Mymensingh, and but I grew up in Dhaka. My dad was retired as a commander of Bangladesh Railway Nirapota Bahini, and we actually lived next to Gulistan, where next to the telegram office used to be Railway Bungalow. As a matter of fact, the current mayor's office, Dhaka, is built where we used to live, where I grew up all my entire life until I came pretty much into this country, And as a child, I went to school in Segun Bagaj, used to call Don School. It's a British school, and most of the children at that particular time used to from diplomatic community, and a lot of Urdu speaking, industrial. Their children used to go over there, and I was there was a handful of Bengalis to actually went to that particular school. And I had a dream that, one day I'm going to be, finish my O-level, A-level as a kid. I was going to go to England to study, because at that time, during the Pakistan period, most of the people when I grew up, I saw they were barrister or have a medical doctor, MRCP, FRC, everybody is going to England. And here comes 1971, liberation movement. And right during the liberation movement, my father and my elder sister and my elder brother, they end up being to India. And me and my mothers and a couple of my sisters and my younger brother, we end up settling in Shararchor, is a little village in Akeshaganj. So I was there for a whole 9 months while my father was in Agartala, and he was a freedom fighter. And actually, he was a camp supervisor. It's called Joy Bangla Jubo Shibir, if I, anyway. So he was training the freedom fighter. But I was there, and then, after 9 months, Bangladesh got, we got independent. And here I go as a teenager. I left English medium school and went back to Nawapur High School, and then I say, hey, I'm not going to England. Now I'm going to go to India, America. So that's how I started. I ended up being in North Carolina, in Charlotte, North Carolina, in a community college. And I started my school doing right after the Jimmy Carter lost his presidential election, in early 80s. And Jimmy Carter was still president when I came in. Reagan took over. And I went to school for a couple of years. Then it's community college, and the economy was really bad. If some of you might know, economy was really bad in early 80s. Interest rate was 17, 18%, 13% unemployment. And I applied probably 50 different places to get a job. Finally, I got a job as a dishwasher, and I started working. And during that time, I got involved at the college level. 1982, the gentleman named Eddie Knox, who was a mayor of Charlotte, and he was running to be a governor. So a friend of mine, some folks came in, hey, you want to get involved, get door hanger? So I had no clue what is a door hanger mean. I said, let's go. So that's how I started. So pretty much as soon as they came in, I was really involved with the democratic politics. So it wasn't really nothing to me because I grew up in a political environment back home. So that's the beginning, I'll say, So I'll stop over there because I can keep saying, so I'll go next point. I'll try to plug in as much as I can,
So I have a question related to that, what you described here. So nowadays we are seeing that more and more young people of Bangladeshi origin and other minority groups as well. I mean, they are getting involved in American mainstream politics more and more these days. So do you have any special advice for them?
Only thing I'll say, I think it's glad this is probably the best opportunity for people like us in minority and the people who stayed on the sideline all this time. This is a good time. This is a generational thing, I think this is the best time for us, the first generation American, get involved because, things was a lot different then. Now this is the moment, this is the time. So I think this is the best opportunity for our children to get involved, even the first generation get involved because we have to have, we have to have a say. We have to have a say. We just can't stay in the sideline. So I think this is an opportunity and this is the right timing for anybody to get involved in activism.
I'll take the next question. So we know Georgia is a red state and it is part of the deep state. As we know, you hold very progressive views. So what kind of challenges you faced and how did you overcome them and being a first generation immigrant?
Well, it's tough. I have to admit it's not easy. It's tough. It's still tough. Every day we have to struggle and fight. And I continue to fight. It's no way other around. Is there still discrimination exists in Georgia? As a matter of fact, I don't want to name it. If you go to a website, there's a website right now. There's my name over there, comment. They say, what Georgia was thinking? How come I got elected? Some of these people went crazy. And they said, we need to get rid of this guy because I'm not going to promote that particular website. And there was a name from top name was Keith Ellison and some of this, Ilhan Omar, some of the congressmen. And right after the congressional, my name is at the top. It's right now. Say we need to get rid of. So it was never easy and it's not easy now. And I don't believe it's going to be easy in immediate future. So I always have to work, I have to be cautious what I do. I ask everybody to pray for me. You can be scared. I cannot be scared. The reason I say I cannot be scared, because I'm going to go back a little bit during the Bangladesh, during the liberation period. When my father was in India, I was captured Pakistani army. I was under the machine gun and they say, hey, what is your dad? And I say, hey, you went back to, to join the government. So after that moment, I'm not really scared. Once as a teenager, you can if you can come out of machine gun, it's nothing scared. So nothing really don't scare me, but I have to be honest that, yeah, it does scare me sometimes, and I have to work. I have to work with the big coalition. It's not only me, because I'm only one person, I have only vote, but there's African American, there's Hispanic American. The district I represent, people from more than 100 different countries, speak more than 100 different languages. So that's my strength. That's what gives me motivation to go and work for those people, not necessarily for me. Because when I see these are the people I represent, doesn't have a voice, and I represent them. And that's what I say sometimes, that I don't only represent Georgia, I represent the United Nations of Georgia. That's what I tell sometimes, because so many different kind of people that I represent.
Thank you.
So, Arshad, do you want to go to the next section, or?
So just one follow-up question that I had. I know a lot of us get engaged in political process as a volunteer and, activist or whatnot, but is there anything that specifically informed you that the time has come for you to seek public office by yourself?
Well, and as I was always involved in politics, but at one time, right after Obama got elected, things changed. The light switch went up. This Obama, with that name, everything can be elected. I can be elected too, because I'm a state committee member since 2010 at the state committee. So I knew one thing, that even though I might not be able to get elected to the public office, but political party, the things that I have, I can always move up within the political party. So I work with the county committee and state committee, and and the national committee. By the way, I was the first Muslim and first Bangladeshi ever elected to the Democratic National Committee, and also I'm the first Muslim ever elected to the executive committee. A lot of people know Keith Ellison, big time, or the DNC vice chair, but Sheikh Rahman is the first in this country ever got elected to the executive committee. I beat Keith Ellison by one day. Keith Ellison got elected to the executive committee the day after I got it. So I hold that record too. So I knew I could do that. But after Obama got elected, then I had to figure out how to do it, what I needed to do.
So Senator Rahman, this is a fascinating discussion. I am sure that your story inspires many of our next generation. So we are going to move to our next section. And before we do, again, let me remind our viewers who are watching live, please post your comment. And if you have any question that you would like to ask him, please post your comment as a question. And some of our admin will collect them and forward to us. So the next section is, I know you are from one of the, I don't call it red state anymore. We'll call it like the highest profile battleground state of Georgia, right?
Battleground and purple state.
so you might have a different perspective compared to many of us, since you are living on the ground. So next section is why this 2020 US election matter. What are at stakes? And again, we'll go back to Taj and Rokon to ask you questions. We'll start with Taj.
So, Senator, what kind of lasting impact do you think it will have on the country if Trump is reelected?
Well, you know what? We already have a lot. He already damaged our credibility around the world, not only this country. And be honest with you, I cannot really rest until I see Donald Trump is really escorted out of the White House, because he is really, even he will not going to waste a single minute to hurt immigrants and minorities and people of color every opportunity he gets. So that's why I'm worried. Now I think he was danger for us, people like us, before he got elected. He's danger for us now, and he's going to be dangerous even after he loses election, because there's right after the election and the inauguration, there's a time period. He's going to try to hurt all of us. And the credibility, I remember after Donald Trump got elected, I was in Europe somewhere else. And this guy, when I was crossing the immigration, I gave my US passport, and he was so mad, he almost threw the passport. He was looking at me, so we are in a danger, because we cannot afford 4 more years of Donald Trump. Be honest with you, we can. because he broke all the record. What is the norm in this country? Who we are as a country is no more, no more. We have to restore. That's why Biden said, soul of America. We're fighting to restore the soul of America. And that's what it is, the bottom line.
Right. So Senator, you talked about the institutional damage being done every single day. The norms are being broken. I have a question about the economy, right? So we know the current unemployment rate is about 11%. Millions others are underemployed, and maybe a million others are fearful that they will lose their jobs anytime soon. And the current situation seems to be much more dire than the Great Recession of 2008, from which, by the way, Obama and Biden led us to recovery. So what Democrats and Biden-Harris can do again to basically recover the economy?
You know what? You are right, because we saw from the past, from the history, Republican coming, they mess up the economy, and we Democrat has to go and fix it. And that's happy. I think we will have to do the same thing again. Pretty much. And if you look at the history, first thing that Biden said, he gonna take away the big tax break that rich people got. Average people, what happened is Republican always, anytime they pass a tax bill, they want to make sure all the rich folks, multi-millionaire, billionaire, they get the big piece of pie, I call it, and the regular folks get a little crumbs. You know what I'm saying? That's how I try to explain. So we need a piece of pie too. Average folks need a break. We need a massive program that after Second World War, we need another Marshall Plan. Those kind of things, massive investment, public investment. And we need to take this, tax cut that all the rich got. They need to pay their fair share. And he said, he can, average folks need a break. And rich folks, their time is going to be over. Has to over. No if and but. Otherwise, we cannot move as a nation. We cannot have the gap anymore, because poor is getting poorer, middle class becoming poorer, rich is getting richer. And we all know that,
All right. Thank you. I'll ask you about healthcare. Healthcare is very important to all of us, and like COVID-19 pandemic made healthcare crisis very glaringly, it's obvious that it's not there for everybody. So we know from CMS, which is, if people don't know, it's the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, says that 1 out of every 5 Americans citizens are enrolled in Medicare and Medicaid, and Obamacare, or Affordable Care Act, successfully covered 20 million people across America. So what do you think will be a long-term impact on social safety nets if Trump and the Republicans are relentlessly trying to weaken them and privatize them? So if they're elected, what do you think will happen?
Well, they're going to try. They're going to keep trying. They're going to try to do. If they have this, thanks God that we have the House now. There's a big majority right now. So even though they get the Senate, they can't really do much damage, but they're going to try every piece. They can try, they're trying. They're chipping away the healthcare. And I myself, I'm for the Medicare for all, as you call it, but I don't care if, rich folks, they want to have a private insurance. I don't have any problem with that. They can pay it, they can get it. But average folks should have access. We know now from what happened from COVID-19 around the country, not only Georgia, people could not get tested. Even if you get tested, you cannot get your result, after a certain amount of time. So, healthcare is a human right, period. We are the top #1 nation in the country, richest nation in the country. And it's even mind-boggling. It's like shame for us to even say we cannot take care of our regular folks. You get sick, you cannot even see a doctors. This is unconscionable. So I hope I hope the Biden said that he's going to make improvement on Obamacare. And I hope we don't have to go back, that we're going to lose the election. We need to win the Senate back. There's only 3, actually, if we get the presidency, if we get 3 more Senate, we'll be okay. But we have to win the election. There's no if and but. We really don't have a choice in order to improve our healthcare system, because everybody has a right and everybody should be able to see a doctor before they get sick, before they feel like seriously ill.
Mm-hmm. So I have a question on the race relations, right? So Arshad in the beginning actually touched on that a little bit, but we're continuing to witness the systemic racism and the police brutality against the people of color. You turn on CNN and every day you see these things. We're definitely seeing the increase in the number of the hate crimes that Arshad was also mentioning against the immigrants and the houses of worships, mosques and synagogues and temples and the African-American churches, right? So Senator, you come from a state of great civil rights icon, Martin Luther King Jr. and John Lewis. So what do you think is driving this thing? And how can we improve the race relations in this country?
We have to give, let me show you something. Just happened to be, I had my t-shirt over here. I'm going to show you something. You see, Georgia Senator for Black Lives Matter. See, we have to keep fighting. We cannot just stop. As John Lewis says, good trouble. We have to be ready for good trouble. We cannot just give up. And this thing's going on. We've been fighting more than 50 some years. It continues. It is same fight we've been fighting the John Lewis for 50 some years ago. Nothing really, it changed a lot. Don't get me wrong, it changed a lot, but we still fighting the same thing. We still have to fight. But thing is, what I was speaking to a Black Lives Matter rally a few weeks ago, and I told them, if you want a justice, you got to do 2 things. You have to protest. That's your right. You got to protest. At the same time, you have to register and vote. If you don't do 2, you're not going to get a justice. We can see all this stuff. As a senator, as a minority, there's a limitation what I can do. If we are in power in the state of Georgia, we would have Medicare in Georgia. Republicans didn't want Medicare. So if you want we need to reform the police department. I'm not going to say, people say, oh, defund the police and stuff like that. That's not really, defund means it's not really taking away money, but how you use that money. You know what? That's why election matter. Police officer, you need to know who is your sheriff, who is your DA. You just don't go and vote for President Biden and Harris and go home. That's why every single election is important. From courthouse, as I always say, from courthouse to state house to White House, because those are the police sheriff. They decide who they're going to put in jail. DA are going to decide what charge they're going to bring. So that's why it's so important. We have to keep fighting, and same time we register and vote. And I tell everybody, we need to vote it out. Every single racist public official, elected official in this country, we cannot stop until we're sure that they are gone. They're gone. We have to. We know from their action. We know what they're doing, and we have to keep an eye on it.
Just to follow up on that, what you just said, we know like every 4 election, 4 years in general election, everybody pays a lot of attention. And in the midterms, there is not that much attention, but a little. Yeah. And then we know like 26 out of the 50 states have Republican governors, and 30 out of those 50 states have Republican majority legislature. So our concern right now is how do we get people to be interested in state and local elections every year and give that much importance to those elections?
I always said, and a lot of people say that local election matter. local election, probably the most important election you can have, even more than presidential. You know, your pocketbook issue, local election, your commissioner figure out how much you're going to be your property tax. Your school board member, they decide how much you're going to be your school taxes, what the school is going to build, what kind of education you get. Your sheriff is going to decide how they're going to, you know, what kind of, who they're going to arrest, who's going to put in the jail, the criminal justice system. And your state legislator is probably most important election, because you know what? The state legislator decide your congressional district every 10 years. And after the census, we're going to decide where the boundary is going to be. Not only congressional district, every state senate, state house, every commissioner's district, school board, everything is drawn every 10 years. So that is why it's so important of election year. We think that presidential, yeah, it is important, but in our mind, we have to think, no, those are the, you know, off year, there's a judicial election too, your superior court. And that's what I was talking about, you know, superior court, and a lot of time you will have your city council and mayor election. So you cannot stop. Just because Biden election will be over in November and another election will come next year. So every year, every election, we have to be careful what's going on in our community. If we miss it, then we're going to miss the ball. That's the reason it's taking so long. If you look at it, when Trump appointed over 300 federal judges, it's crazy. It's crazy. When I think about it, if we get elected again, what is going to happen to Supreme Court? We're not going to have any rights. We're going to be in serious, serious trouble.
Senator Rahman, thank you for your insights. You know, so we learned from you that a lot of things are at stake in this election, you know, from economic recovery to people's health care, social safety net, you know, race relations, and of course, you know, all those decisions that states make in state legislature. That seems like, you know, most of Democrats and also including our community don't pay a lot of attention to. So our next segment will be based on, I think, the very purpose why we are here and you are here, that what can we do, or how our Bangladeshi community can help to the extent that is possible in this election to make sure that Democrats and progressives come out as winner, as well as, you know, Biden and Harris get elected. And again, to the viewers watching live, you know, please post your comments, and please, you know, keep sending your questions, and we'll get some of those answered at the end of the next segment. So let's go back to Rahman and Taj, please.
So I have a question on the Asian American population. So the last time I Googled a couple of days ago, I saw there are 21 million, about 21 million Asian Americans in this country. So they're about 6.5% of the population. But Asian Americans, including the Bangladeshi Americans, don't seem to quite vote at the same rate at other groups. Why do you think that's happening? Are we too complacent, or do we think, oh, maybe 6.5% is not as large as African American or Hispanic American population? So what do you think this is the phenomenon?
Well, you know what? Historically, if you look at it, from our internal, research, if you registered 6 Asian American, chances are the next immediate election, one you're going to be definitely going to vote. Sometimes it's hard to get 2. If you registered 5 or 6 African American, chances are it's almost automatically double, at least 2. Depends how many contacts you have. So traditionally, we never really participated. And you know what? This election, we can be the difference of winning. We can be the difference. We just cannot stay on the sideline, as I said earlier. This is just a mentality. We think that, hey, my vote don't count, our vote don't count. And I'll tell you one thing. And as a parent, you know, my daughter is going to college. I know some of your daughters and sons, they're going to college. We tell them, hey, go be engineer and doctors, everything, IT, be successful, which is good. Nothing wrong with that. At the same time, we have a responsibility to tell our children at the same time, make sure you go register, make sure you vote. From my personal perspective, when I go and ask somebody, is my brothers and sisters, do you know if your son is registered? Sometimes they can say, I don't know, he's in college. And I think that's a no excuse for them. I mean, that's a no excuse. What that tells me, a lot of people don't like it. Well, I tell them, you know, I think you failed as a father, as a parent, to teach your children the civic duty. That's your responsibility too. So all of us has a responsibility. We can just avoid. We can just say, okay, you know, I'm happy my son is doctor, so whatever it is. If you look at the young generation, they're at the front of the line protesting. And then you ask them, some of them not even registered, and they don't go vote. So how are we going to have a justice? How are we going to get the reforms? The young generation, they need to come out stronger than ever before. I mean, no excuse. And we have to take a part. And as a parents, as a community leader, all of us has a responsibility to make sure we give this message to our children that this is your job, this is your civic duty. Make sure you do that, and we have to do a follow-up.
So I have a question about that. So based on your experience, what are the most effective ways to get our community to register to vote? And how can we motivate them, not the children, but the adults, to go and vote?
You know what? It is, you know, you need, sometimes people say, hey, single vote doesn't matter. But I'll give you an example. For myself, when I got elected to the Democratic National Committee, you know what? I won by one single vote. I made a history in this country by one single vote. So 4 years ago, there's a little town called Jonesboro. The mayor in Georgia, it's just like, you know, 45, 50 minutes from where I live. The mayor got elected, Democratic mayor got elected by one single vote. So you never know, every single vote count. So there are examples out there, and we have to have to change the mentality. One thing I tell all the Bangladeshi organization, now is the COVID, but it's a normal time. We have all this program, you know, Poila Boishakhi, 21 February, or Independence Day, or picnic. I think every single Bangladeshi organization should have a program, 5 minutes or 10 minutes. When you gather, you ask each other. You have make sure nowadays you can do online. If not, make sure you have an application. Every single organization should have in every single program. You know, if you are a president or secretary of organization, make sure you have in a bunch of application for voter registration in your trunk or something. So you go make sure. So all of us do that every single time. Then we're not going to have this deficit. People are going to get elected. And then we need to ask them, hey, brother, or call the sister, did you vote it? Did you register? See, as a leader, as a community leader, all of us has responsibility. If we do that, then I think can achieve. A lot of time people don't like me. If I go to Bangladeshi program, I pretty much ask a lot of folks, hey, you registered? Let me check it. They don't want to come and say, hey, no. They say, yeah, I'm registered. Sometimes they are not registered. I know them. That's the reason, because I can go to the computer in Georgia, anywhere. I can put that address. I can tell you exactly. I don't know how he voted, but who is registered, who is not. So there's a time I went there and checked it. You know, I know there's a Bangladeshi people, there's several family, and none are registered. If I tell them, oh, I registered, oh, I vote all the time, and I check, even somebody's registered, never voted. But you know, if we lie to ourselves, you know, you're not lying to other folks, you lying to ourselves, you lying to your community, you know, you cheating yourself. That's what I'll say. But not everybody. Yeah, there are some folks, and then we need to change their mind. We need to let them know your vote matter. You know, as much as matter to hold that Poila Boishakhi or Bijoy Dibosh, whatever it is, as important, because we're going to live in this country. We're not going to go in Bangladesh. We're not going to go Bangladesh. And another thing I said, I know a lot of people don't like to hear that. In this country, we spend too much time in Awami League or BNP or JAMA, whatever the organization is. We need to stop that nonsense. That's, to me, is a nonsense, because we cannot even vote. I cannot go in Bangladesh. In a matter of fact, I have to have a special visa. I cannot even walk in Bangladesh. I gotta get a visa. So most of them, in the cities, most of the people that we are in this country, our children are not gonna go back. They're not gonna go back and try to vote Awami League or BNP or whatever the organization. I don't have anything particular in our party, but we need to stop that mentality, and we need to upgrade ourselves. That's why I say we need to forget we left the country. I love my country as a Bangladeshi. I'm proud, but our son and daughter, some of them don't even speak good Bangladesh, Bengali. So that's the tragedy. So we need to come out of this of the tragedy.
I really think this is a very good idea that we go out and every party or Poila Boishakh or Bijoy Dibosh, we ask our citizens to register to vote and actually go out and vote. Thank you.
So, so we have the Senator. We were talking the other day, and we have probably about 2,800 plus people in our Facebook group. We see a lot of passion, a lot of motivation, and I would like to believe that everybody's registered, and everybody's voting, and their kids are voting. But besides that, what else can they do to make an impact in the 2020 election? That's a critical election that you have talked about.
So look at just 2,800. But you know what? I'm not worried about this 2,800. I'm pretty much sure these people are going to go vote. Otherwise, they wouldn't join this. You know what I'm saying? But I'm worried that people did not join. We have hundreds of thousands of Bangladeshi all about. So they need to make sure their other family member, their member, their co-worker, their Bangladeshi neighborhood. If they're from, I know over here we have a Mymensingh Association or Kishaganj or, or Sylheti Organization Association. There's a lot of other folks. If all of us, these 2,800 people, if they work individually, increase their number, their friends and family, the association, they go, some people, they might not go only their local regional organization. If you're Sylheti, you might go to Sylheti. If you're from Chittagong, you might go to Chittagong. But if we do that, we have hundreds of work. I think New York has over 300 some organization. Over 300 some organization. So think about, I'm sure everyone, even we have another thing, we have even in a small town, you have a Bangladesh society, you might have another, number 2 society, whatever it is. So doesn't matter what organization you're part of it, all of them can exist, and we have to work with each organization. I don't have problem with this 300 organization, but let's have a common goal. Let's all 300 organization believe in it. This is our right. We need to participate. This is our civic duty. We need to come in a conclusion as a group, as a Bangladeshi, as an immigrant, as a minority, as a people of color. We need to be solidarity with other minority groups, and we need to come together that we have to register, we have to vote, we have to be a part of the activism, and this is our country. We're not going to go nowhere. Our children are not going to go out. We got to do it for the next generation of American. We have to do it for our next, for our children. I mean, what can I say? I mean, everything is at stake right now. Everything is at stake.
I have one last question for you. Why do you think Bangladeshi Americans should go out and vote for Biden and Harris and all the progressive candidates?
I don't think we have any choice. I don't think we have any alternative. You might a lot of people, I know there's a group of Bangladeshi, were really excited with Bernie Sanders group. Even my daughter told me, hey, if you don't go vote for Bernie Sanders, I'm not going to vote for you. I'm just saying, that's in my family. So I'm sure you have folks in all around the country, your children or your nephew or your niece, young folks we have. There's last time, what happened? Look, last time, a lot of Democrats sat down the sideline. What the result? By not voting, means you voting the Republican. We cannot afford to say, I mean, this is a dire situation. There shouldn't be, you might not like every single thing, the proposal Biden had. Maybe you didn't care, but you know what? We have something for everybody because of the Harrises. Because if you look at it, she's Asian American. She's also an Indian American, South Asian. So we have, as we look, I want somebody to look at me and say, hey, if this guy can do it, I can do it too. I want motivated. So when I saw the Kamala Harris, I was always thinking, I wish Biden would pick Kamala Harris. We did not knew who he'll gonna pick, but I'm glad he chose Kamala Harris, first African American woman, first Asian American, and first South Asian. I mean, so her husband is a Jewish, and so we have a lot of things for minority. So I think what it is not the election only. We have to make sure they win, and we need to continue to focus on the policy. If they do something we don't like, we have to come out and say, hey, Biden, hey, Harris, we voted for you. This is what we want. That's the only way we can change the direction. It's not the election only. Election November 3rd, and we go home and be happy, oh, we elected Biden and Harris, everything will change. No, nothing going to change. It's going to be same as is if we don't continue to monitor what they do. And we have to have our concern out there. We have to still say, hey, this is what we want you to do. This is what we voted for you. And that's the only way change will gonna come.
Senator, thank you for all of the insight and discussions. I think we are approaching to the end of the program, and we have a few questions from our viewers. They're very good questions. So maybe we won't be able to answer all of them, but I'll try to combine a few of them for you. And the viewers, we promise that we are going to have this kind of program almost every weekend. And if we cannot answer all of your questions today, we'll find the time to answer your relevant question next time. So a couple of questions, I think that goes together. So one question from Ibrahim Faisal, his point is that the Republican falsely claim that they're party of the moral values, family values, right? Christian faith, anti-abortion, and anti-LGBTQ, and which kind of align them to the people of Bangladeshi community on social values. But, we have a progressive economic value. So that is the conflict that some of our senior people get into or caught up into. And the same question from another viewer, Sitara Nazneen Ahmed. And her question is, how do you influence our Bengali senior citizen to vote for Biden and Harris? And I think these two questions are kind of related. So how do we convince our Bangladeshi American people, like sometimes they become single issue voter? Biden said this about Muslim, or they support that, or Israel, or this. How do we make people to see the big picture and go beyond one issue voter?
Well, first of all, that's a great question. But you know what? The senior folks, we need to tell them one quick thing that, hey, as soon as Trump got elected, first thing what they did, he tried to do a Muslim ban, tried to make sure immigrant can come in. We are lucky enough to come to this country and prosper and did everything. And we have to tell them, are you really better off? Republican, yeah, they had a value and everything else. That was the old Republican. It's not the new Republican Party. This is not Republican Party any no more. Republican had a value. Now they don't have any value. This is a Trump party. Look what he did last 4 years. Look what he's trying to do the minority community. Look what, I mean, it's almost unbelievable what happened to the Republican Party. You can even identify. So are you better off with the Trump right now? Or do you think it'll be better off 4 more years, right? And you might be deported, you might be an immigrant right now. I know a lot of folks right now in Bangladeshi community, they are worried because they might have some traffic violation or something small, something, involved or whatever the reason it is. And immigration law might change. Trump can just come and say, even if you get traffic violation, something minor as is, you can be a citizen. What are you going to do then? So bad time is not here yet. You haven't seen anything worse, I'll say. I'm going to tell senior citizens, if you think we are worse now, you haven't seen nothing. You haven't seen nothing, because our worst days is coming. Worst days coming. But at least we have people right now, 2018, we have a lot of progressive got elected, people like us, and a lot of people, they're fighting. So we are at least talking, we are protesting. So we need to continue to do that. We just can't afford.
So I have another interesting question. This is about your policy. So this is from Shabab M. Hussein, and his question to you is that he heard you saying that now you support Medicare for all, and you being a senator from a red state, he's asking, is this an evolution in your principle bolstered by this pandemic, or you always support an idea like this?
I always support it. I always believed one thing, because I had a corporate job. And then when I left my job, and I worked for 9 years for the corporation, and then I went back to school, and I lost my insurance. I didn't handle it. So I was in a situation myself, number of years, I couldn't afford have good doctors. I mean, thanks God, I did go and see a doctors, but I wasn't medically sick. Could have been devastating for me. So I've been there. So I know situation. People don't have to tell me how to feel when you don't have insurance. You're scared to go to the doctors. So I always believe we have to have a basic, this is like human right. Even my insurance might not, my insurance for average folks, insurance might not cover something really, I mean, expensive something, but for basic treatment, I mean, that's unbelievable. So I always believe that. I continue to believe that. And we're gonna get there. That's why it's so important that we go out and vote. But a lot of people say, well, this is gonna be socialized medicine, this and that. I don't care what it is. If you don't like it, you can buy an insurance. If you want a private insurance, that's fine. But average folks should have insurance where they can go, they can sleep at night good. If they get basic sick, they need an immunization, or they need to check their fever or whatever it is, they get a COVID, they should be able to get tested. Those are the things is very important to me and always going to be until we get there.
Thank you, sir. Another question from Sheikh Firdaus Shams. So he's asking that in 2016, Democratic Party could not motivate the young voters. What the Democrats are doing this time different to motivate them to go to the ballot? It's an interesting question. We see a lot of young people marching on the street on Black Lives Matter or other social or environmental issues, but for some reason, that energy, that passion don't translate into ballot boxes on the day of voting. Do you understand what is driving this?
Well, you know what? I think last time, 2016, a lot of young folks, they were so excited for Bernie Sanders. I honestly believe that's probably what happened. They got dismotivated when Bernie Sanders didn't get up. They said, well, my votes don't matter. I know some young folks, they even voted for third party. So to me, I always tell them, I told them before, by sitting, by not voting, actually, helping Republican win, whatever they, I mean, top to bottom, because you don't show up. Every single people get elected, you actually voted for him. So they need to understand, it's not that this is our responsibility. I think this time young folks got message. If you look at it around the country, what I'm hearing, I think a lot more younger people are registered now than before. And I believe the turnout will be higher. Might not be as high as like older folks, but I think their number is going to make a difference. And we need to, that's what I say as a parents, we have to make sure our children, they go vote. So, and we tell them, hey, make sure I ask my daughter, did you ask your roommate, did you ask your college friend, make sure they're registered? So if there are young folks who are dedicated, they're excited, they're going to go vote. If you see one of those, tell them, they make sure not only your vote, make sure your friends, the people you go to school with, people you party with, or organization with, make sure, that's how we motivate the young folks. So we have to be constantly send this message.
Thank you. So the last question, I think from the viewers, this one is from one of our admin who collected all these questions. So I really need to ask this question from Mahmoud Hassan Nahid. So he's asking that the electoral college that favors Republicans, and other than that, he's concerned about the dark money that, coming to Republican candidates that there is no accounting for, and also the gerrymandering, where the candidates, they choose their constituents as opposed to it should be the other way, right?
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
How do you think, do you agree that these are the issues and what Democrats can really do about it?
Absolutely, I agree. The single question, everything that he asks, I absolutely agree, because what happened is people should be voting for us. We shouldn't be. We don't want that I don't want being in gerrymandered district that I choose my voter. That shouldn't be. Should be. I don't have any problem with this independent district. That's why state election is so important for us. That's why we need to elect the state legislator, because Congress doesn't do your gerrymandering your district. We do as a state legislator. So I'm going to, any day, if I have to sign a pledge, hey, I'm going to go, let's divide as a normal, as a non-partisan, I have no problem with that. I'm always for that. So that's why it's very important. And of course, money is a big part in the politics. Uh, I wish we had a public financing, be honest with you. I'll support that anytime, but we are not there. We are not there. So that's why it's so important that that we support the candidate. Those are not taking the big money. They're not getting the big money from special interest. Those are the things going to be very, very important. So when you go to the poll, when you vote in a primary, if you're a Democrat, if there's two people in there, see what the money come from, who is supporting, what their job, what the president, what they did in the past, who are the people they associated with, who are the people supporting, who are the organization endorsing. That tells you what they're going to be, because once they get elected, who they're going to support. They're going to listen to people giving them money, or people listen to the people. So that's why it's important as a public, we need to also contribute to the political campaign as much as we can. Not everybody can campaign or donate big money, but if enough people, the Bernie Sanders proved it, if enough people contribute in a small amount, can go a long way. We can beat the dark money. Because if you're conscious, we know what's going on. If you know about the candidate, you just don't go vote just because you see a Democrat. Go look at the bio. Look at see what the person did. What the person did actually. So as a matter of fact, the district, before even got elected in Gwinnett County, I was on one of the plaintiffs that sued the county, Gwinnett County, because of the gerrymander commissioner district. Gwinnett County is a 50%, over 50% majority minority county now, but we had all white folks, all the white commissioner, because the way the district was done, we couldn't elect any minority. So I joined with NAACP and some of the organization, ACLU, and I filed a case and I sued. And when I went to the court, they said, you didn't even run election. You didn't even candidate. I said, no, I want to make sure somebody look like me can represent my district. That's not about me. That's how I won the election. So when I ran for the election, I told people, look, this is what I did. I didn't have to go and sue the county. I had to take the heat and everything else. I did what I thought was right for this community even before I got elected. And look, the guy, my opponent, he's getting money from, organization, I don't want to name it, not supposed to. Then people say, oh, wait a minute, that's true. So that's why it's so important that we understand, we look at the history of the candidate, and we need to make sure who you vote. Doesn't make it just because you're Republican or Democrat, you look at it.
So Senator, thank you for coming here, and that kind of end our questions or discussion for today. We started late for technical difficulties, and we apologize to our viewer for that. And that's why we kind of went ahead a little bit 10 minutes over our original schedule. So I'd like to really thank you for taking the time to come here to share your insight and inspire us. And we are proud of everything that you have accomplished. And I know you are on re-election, but you already won uncontested. So you must be a really popular person in Gwinnett County, so that's a good thing. And let me also thank the two other moderators on the panel tonight, Tad and Rokan, for asking some intriguing questions. And thank you, the viewers, for posting your comments and also send us some good questions for us. So one last thing, I know, Senator, you have been as a member of our group for the last couple of weeks, and you are observing us. This is new for us as well. We are not career politicians. We are working people pretty much. What is your experience? What would you tell based on your last 2 weeks of experience? What is your feelings about being part of this process?
Well, you know what? I'm glad you will come up with this organ. As I said at the beginning, I'm so happy to see you all. You're trying to do something. I'm not a career politician. I call myself a serial. What Tom Perez, my chairman of the DNC, will say, we are a serial activist. So I consider myself a serial activist. I just happen to get elected. So what I suggest, keep doing the same thing. You have people that all around the state, all around the country. try to diversify, bring more people in, and keep a small group and work together as a centralized body. Some of you all take the leadership, and then you need to get people up in New York. There's a big people in Los Angeles, some of the big cities. We have a lot of folks in there. So we have to reach out lot more folks than this 2,800. Think about it. If we can get, I think we should be a group of 100,000. We should be able to bring, my challenge to you all, they say, let's see if we can bring 100,000 Bangladeshi. And that's my challenge to you all. And if I can do anything, you call me, invite me. I'm really happy to be joining with you all. If I can do anything, whatever it is, I want people to look at me and say, if this, as I said before, if this guy can do it, we can do it too. So there is opportunity, and this is the right timing. Let's work together with other organizations. Just because you don't like their politics or organization, but reach out. The problem is with our community, we have the mentality, because from the politics, somehow this political, I belong to Bangladesh, this party, he belongs to, so I'm not going to talk to them, I'm not going to cooperate with them. So we need to get out that mentality. We need to have open our mind and let people understand, even if you don't like it, because you're whatever that person does, but we should have a common ground. This is for our existence. And we need to, I ask all 2,800 folks that we have, reach out the people you don't like. Not necessarily, you're gonna like some folks, you're gonna go talk to them, but reach out the people you don't like. That's the only way we can bring more people in. Let's bring people in together for the common good, for the Bangladeshi American. And that's the only single thing I can say to make me happy, and I'm sure you're gonna make all of us happy in the long run.
Thank you, Senator Rahman. Again, thank you for being here. We appreciate your presence. And to the viewers, this is the end of our program tonight. And we are hoping that there will be similar event every weekend going forward. So please keep watching this space. But at the end of the day, the election is about showing up to vote, so who vote and where they vote, So if you remember that in 2016 election, Hillary Clinton won 62 million vote, but ended up losing the election for 80,000 votes in 3 different states combined, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. So we have to be vigilant, register for vote, get engaged in volunteering, donate to campaign, phone banking. Those are the bread and butter issues that we need to get more engaged and help our Biden-Harris and also other democratic and progressive campaigns. Thank you for watching tonight. Have a good night.
Thank you, Senator. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.